Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're tackling something literally all of us have dealt with, but honestly, very few have actually cracked, and that's workplace culture. We're on a mission to totally transform the narrative of our organizations. We're going to uncover how to fundamentally shift from those toxic, stress-inducing environments into places of really deep, meaningful collaboration. To do this, we're drawing on some absolutely brilliant insights from Simon Sinek's work about why some teams naturally pull together, while others, well, they just fall apart. All right, let's just dive right in. 20%. That is a crazy number. According to the research, only 20% of Americans can genuinely look you in the eye and say, I love my job. I mean, really think about that for a second. That means the vast majority of the workforce, probably people you know, maybe even you at times, goes to work feeling uninspired, totally unsafe, or just actively disengaged. Which kind of forces us to ask, why is finding fulfillment at work like winning the lottery? It shouldn't be this crazy, idealized pipe dream to wake up inspired to go to work, right? Now, let's contrast that miserable corporate reality we're so used to with high-performing military units. Take the United States Marine Corps, for example. They have this profoundly symbolic and physical rule: officers eat last. When it's chow time, the most junior Marines eat first, and the senior leaders, they literally take their place at the very back of the line. And what happens in that chow hall translates directly to the battlefield. Because these teams trust each other so deeply, they are literally willing to risk their lives for one another. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at the modern workplace danger, then the biology of trust, the circle of safety, how to remove barriers to collaboration, fostering deep empathy, and finally, sharing the struggle. This is going to be our playbook of actionable steps to really define the problem, understand the science behind it, and implement some highly tactical solutions. Starting with Section 1, the modern workplace danger. Specifically, internal politics versus external threats. You know, the world out there is already inherently full of external dangers, right? Fluctuating economies, disruptive competitors, you name it. But when leaders allow internal dangers to fester, things like petty office politics or intimidation, people end up spending all their energy just protecting themselves from each other. And when that happens, the team's ability to actually fight those outside threats is absolutely destroyed. Moving right along to Section 2. The biology of trust and the science of human connection. The really fascinating biological reality here is that we are actually still wired exactly like our tribal hunter-gatherer ancestors. We are literally biologically programmed to seek safety in numbers. Seriously, there's a literal chemical warfare happening inside our own bodies while we're at work. On one hand, we have cortisol. This is the villain chemical of a toxic workplace. It's that stress hormone that triggers our early warning systems. It creates paranoia, this intense need for self-preservation, and those dreaded organizational silos. And the worst part? Cortisol actively inhibits empathy. But on the flip side, when we manage to trigger our hero chemicals, oxytocin and serotonin, everything changes. These are what create deep empathy, genuine trust, teamwork, and lasting collaboration. They take those invisible, hard-to-measure metrics of business and make them completely tangible. Which brings us to Section 3, the circle of safety and creating the ideal state. This is all about creating an environment where our biology actually works for us instead of against us. Leaders really have to actively build a specific environment to trigger those hero chemicals we just talked about. So what is the circle of safety? By definition, it's a culture where leaders prioritize the well-being of their people, reducing those internal threats so the team naturally pulls together to face external dangers. And let me be clear, this isn't some soft, fluffy HR initiative. This is the absolute anchor of any high-performing organization. Because when we feel safe, our biology literally gives us permission to innovate and collaborate. Just look at the contrast here. Living outside the circle means existing in this constant state of intimidation, isolation, politics, and paranoia. It's purely a survival mindset. But when you're inside the circle, that is exactly where you find true belonging, deep trust, unprecedented collaboration, and honestly, world-class innovation. Now, on to Section 4, removing barriers to collaboration, featuring the Barry Wimler playbook. Let's look at how this actually works out in the real world. Bob Chapman, who was the CEO of this large manufacturing company, took over several struggling facilities. He realized the culture was just completely broken, and he decided to make a massive, immediate change. Chapman took incredibly actionable steps to fix things. He didn't just stand up and give some grand, sweeping speech. Step 1, he removed physical barriers. I mean, literally taking down the time clocks and ripping the padlocks off the parts cages. Step 2, He just started treating his employees like adults. He gave them free access to tools and company phones without making them ask for permission every single time. And step 3, he completely eliminated that toxic us versus them mentality between the factory floor and the office workers. Suddenly, everyone in the building was treated with the exact same fundamental human respect. And the results? They were immediate. There was this one instance where a factory worker's wife was losing her leg to diabetes, and he just couldn't afford to take the time off to be with her. Well, without management even asking or interfering, his fellow factory workers actually broke company policy to pool and donate their own paid vacation days to him. Taking away those petty, everyday barriers completely transformed the team's willingness to sacrifice for one another. It's just an incredible story. All right, section 5, fostering deep empathy using Sinek's rules for keeping it real. Empathy isn't just some happy accident that occasionally happens. It is actually something that leaders can actively manufacture and scale across their staff. There are 3 really actionable rules that serve as the foundation for this playbook. Rule 1, bring people together face to face. Rule 2, keep working groups under 150 people. And Rule 3, meet the people your work actually helps. Let's unpack exactly why these 3 rules work so well. Rule 1 is so simple, but it is increasingly ignored today. Trust is not formed through a screen. It's formed across a table. As social animals, we biologically require real, live human interaction. Something as simple as a handshake, making eye contact, or sharing a meal, those are the tangible things that trigger the release of oxytocin in our brains. You simply cannot build deep, meaningful trust over a long email thread. It just doesn't work. Then there's Rule 2, which comes down to this fascinating psychological limit known as Dunbar's number, which is 150. Professor Robin Dunbar's research showed that human brain capacity, and honestly, just the hours in a day, simply cannot maintain more than about 150 close relationships. When working groups scale beyond that number, we physically cannot remember everyone, so bureaucracy inevitably has to step in and take over. If you keep groups under 150, you allow natural human accountability to actually thrive. And Rule 3 is beautifully illustrated by Adam Grant's famous lifeguard study. When lifeguards were given reading materials about how their work actually saved real lives, they were radically more motivated than when they just read about, say, the personal benefits of the job. Meeting the people you help completely shifts an employee's perspective from just doing a job for a paycheck to genuinely, meaningfully helping other human beings. Which leads us to our final part, Section 6, sharing the struggle and building camaraderie. When everything is going perfectly, it's actually really hard to build a deep bond. It turns out that hardship is the ultimate catalyst for human connection. I mean, think about your own career for a second. Our best days at work are almost always the hardest ones we survive together. We fondly look back on the late nights, the cold pizza in the break room, the crazy looming deadlines, way more than we remember the easy, mundane Tuesdays, right? And why is that? Because sharing a struggle releases a massive amount of oxytocin. Biologically speaking, our bodies literally reward us with a chemical rush just for sticking together and surviving a challenge as a tribe. To kind of wrap up our narrative arc for today, let's drive home one massive truth. Customers will never love a company until the employees love it first. Putting your people before the numbers, fostering that genuine empathy, and truly looking out for the people to your left and your right, that isn't just some nice utopian dream. It's actually the ultimate, most effective long-term business strategy there is. So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Would you want to be in a foxhole with your team? It is the ultimate test of the circle of safety. I really encourage you to evaluate your own workplace leadership and the environment you're actively creating. Are you removing those petty barriers? Are you acting like the officers who eat last? I hope this explainer has given you some deeply actionable tools to start building that kind of trust today. Keep learning, keep pushing forward, and we'll catch you on the next one.